M says, "Hi, Gabby and Allison. I have a question about dating with a disability while not financially independent. Namely, will anyone want to date me if I have a disability and am not financially independent? For some background, I am 30 years old and in the process of applying for Social Security disability benefits. I do work part time and am able to cover some of my expenses, but my parents help me a significant amount, and I still live with them, though I am trying to get on a list for affordable housing. I have depression, anxiety, ADHD, and a chronic physical illness that causes joint pain and fatigue. I am being treated for all of these things, and for the most part, I feel like my mental health is well controlled. My issue is mainly my physical health. I deal with significant fatigue along with chronic pain, and I have trouble working more than around 10 to 15 hours a week. Despite this, I am an ambitious person who loves to be as active as possible. I am also a published writer and would like to eventually publish novels. I know that I'm funny, caring, and a good friend, but I feel like people will see my disability and my lack of financial independence as major red flags, and dating will be impossible. I also have only had one serious relationship, and it was partially long distance, so I feel like that also counts against me. I live in a rural area and am a little socially anxious, so I feel like I don't get the kind of practice that other people got in terms of dating when I was younger. But I want so badly to get out there and meet people. I signed up for dating apps, but I'm often too afraid to actually set up dates, although that's partly because of the pandemic making things a bit more complicated right now. Should I just give up dating for the time being and hope I can improve my circumstances enough to be more dateable in the future? Will anyone want to date somebody like me who is not financially independent and has so many issues? I feel like I've done so much work on myself and really improved myself so much over the years, and I know that I am so much more than my circumstances suggest, but I feel like no one is going to want to deal with all of this baggage. Thanks so much for your incredible podcast. I look forward to it so much every week."
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, as Allison has said many times, one of the biggest things is not your current circumstance, but whether or not you're working on it. And like whether or not you are actively bettering yourself and whether or not you like love yourself and feel good about the things that you have to offer. And so generally, I mean, everything that you described sounds amazing. You know, you're a published writer, you're funny, you're caring. I think that there is a lid for every pot. I think maybe you should think about if you would want to date someone like you. And if you would, then amazing. I mean, would you write someone off that had a disability? Then there must be someone out there in the world like you who wouldn't do that. It is tough in a rural area, I will say, because your dating pool is smaller, which is why I don't think you should get off dating apps or online dating. I think that might be your best bet just in terms of the people that are around. But if you feel that you have a lot to offer, if you feel that you've done a lot of work on yourself and grown, and if you feel that you are someone who has passions and goes after them, and you know, I don't think anyone should judge anyone for living with their parents at this point, because that used to be a thing of like, oh, they still live at home, so they're a loser. But like, we have gone through some of the worst economic times in life, and I'm not necessarily sure that even back in the day we should have been judging this. So also different cultures live with their parents. So like, I don't know. I feel like the whole living with my parents making me seem not financially secure or making me seem in some way like not as good is like something we should all just take off the table.
Yeah, I had a couple reactions to this, and I think a big one was that a lot of people are financially dependent on their parents in some way, right? Myself included. Like, I recently moved into a house that my parents bought, and I'm paying the mortgage, and we're renting to buy, and it's all of these things, but like, it is very much me, having support, financial support from my parents. A lot of people might have full-time jobs, but still maybe their parents cover their car payments, or maybe their parents help with the rent, or they cover the vacations for the families, like, I think maybe you're feeling it a bit more acutely because you are more financially dependent on your parents than some people, but I think a lot more people are than we necessarily think, or that necessarily talk about it openly. And why do we view that as a bad thing, right? Like, we're families. Like, if you are in the position to be able to help your children out, I used to have so much guilt around it. And now I'm like, oh, well, if I was in my parents' position, I would do the same thing. We're there to support each other. We're there to help each other. I also think you are doing something that makes so much sense, but you are fortune telling. You are assuming, you're mind reading. You are assuming how people are going to react without giving them the opportunity to react. And I get that because once you become involved with somebody, once you get excited about somebody, once they're real, then their potential rejection of you is going to be more painful than if you never even tried in the first place. But if you're not even letting yourself go on these dates, you're not giving people the opportunity to say, I totally get it. Everything about your circumstances makes sense to me. Like if you have a chronic illness, you're going to need additional support. If you're struggling with a lot of mental health disorders, you're going to need to spend time addressing those disorders, which makes it hard to have a full-time job. Like nothing here feels like, oh, you're messing up or you're not in a place where you're ready for a relationship. It just seems like you have been in some really hard circumstances and you're doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. And you also have a wonderful support system, which is a huge plus. I mean, who doesn't want to become part of a family where people help each other out and are there for each other? And so I think it's deciding that you're willing to face this potential rejection, but also reminding yourself that everybody opens themselves up for rejection when they date. Everybody has things about themselves that they're worried that the other person is going to judge or not like or be afraid of or back away from. And I think that your stuff might be a bit more in your face, if that makes sense, right? Because it's like things we talk about right away. What are our jobs? What are our living situations? And other people's might be more things that someone would only uncover a few months into a relationship or once they really know somebody, So it's scarier because you kind of have to put what you are worried about out there quicker, but give the people the opportunity to take that information. And also, you learn so much information about somebody when you give it to them and how they react to it. Don't go into this as like, I just hope this person doesn't reject me. Go into it as, how does this person take this information and are they good enough for me? Are they understanding enough for me? Are they compassionate enough for me?
Just between us.